It started 6 months ago, right after I officially retired. I was in my wood shop in Meadow Park, sketching plans for a custom camper van. Susan and I were going to drive across the country. We'd saved for years. For the first time, our time and our money were finally our own. The future felt wide open. That feeling lasted about a week. Then the phone rang. It was my eldest, Mark. His tech startup was circling the drain. He came over and sat at my kitchen table. He was pale. "Just a bridge loan, Dad," he said. "$30,000 for payroll. I'll pay you back in 60 days. I saw the fear in his eyes, the same look he had when he was a kid and scared of the dark. I felt obligated. I transferred the money that afternoon. I remember opening the van fund spreadsheet on my computer and typing a new tab name, Mark, just like that. It was my eldest, Mark. His tech startup was circling the drain. He came over and sat at my kitchen table. He was pale. "Just a bridge loan, Dad," he said. "$30,000 for payroll. I'll pay you back in 60 days. I saw the fear in his eyes, the same look he had when he was a kid and scared of the dark. I felt obligated. I transferred the money that afternoon. I remember opening the van fund spreadsheet on my computer and typing a new tab name, Mark, just like that. I told myself it was a one-time thing, a father's duty. But 2 weeks later, my daughter Chloe was in my driveway, crying. Her minivan had died. "What about the grandkids, Dad?" she said, her voice breaking. "How do I get them to school?" A new one was $15,000. I wrote the check. Susan was there. She didn't say a word. She just stopped bringing me brochures for national parks. I felt conflicted, but the pattern was set. The requests kept coming. A few thousand here for unexpected dental work, another few there for a tuition shortfall. Each one was a crisis. Each one chipped away at the dream and at something quiet between Susan and me. Our saving statement started to look sick. Then came David, a real estate deal gone bad. He needed $85,000 to avoid foreclosure. He came to the house, desperate. When I told him I needed to talk to Susan, to actually look at our numbers, his face changed. It hardened. "You help Mark," he said, his voice rising. "You have it. Are you going to let my family live on the street?" The entitlement, the rage, it stunned me. I asked him to leave so I could think. That night, the real crisis hit, in my own bedroom. Susan finally spoke. She was quiet. She was definitive. "If you give him that money, James, I'm leaving. There will be nothing left for us." She wasn't even angry. She was empty. I saw it then. I had been funding our children's emergencies at the cost of our marriage. Her silence hadn't been approval. It had been a slow retreat. I panicked. I lay awake all night, trapped between my son's fury and my wife's despair. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I was terrified. I called David. "Son," I said, my throat tight, "I can't do it. I'm sorry." He screamed. He called me a selfish hypocrite. He hung up. The silence in the house after was absolute. It was terrifying. But for the first time in months, it was a silence Susan and I shared. We were on the same side of the chasm. The fallout was immediate. He didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. The guilt was physical, a constant ache in my chest. I'd go to my woodshop not to build, but to stare at the wall, or at the gutted numbers on that savings statement. Word got out. The other kids were cold. Family dinners were tense, or they just didn't happen. I was the villain. My grandkids asked why Grandpa was so grumpy. I felt completely isolated. The irony was, the bank account was already half gone. I felt like I'd traded my family for it, and I'd already lost both. But in that isolation, with Susan's quiet support beside me on the couch, I started to see things clearly. The Band-Aids I'd applied hadn't healed anything. Listen, here's what I finally understood. I wasn't their solution. I was their enabler. My money had stopped them from finding their own resilience. Mark's startup failed anyway. Chloe figured out a car lease herself. David renegotiated his loan. My help had only postponed their reckoning, and it had accelerated mine. I'd robbed my future to fix their present. That clarity hurt, but it was also freeing. It led me to the hard rules Susan and I live by now. We sat down at this very kitchen table. We agreed on a hard line. Now, if we choose to help, it's a defined gift, never a loan. And it only comes from a specific family gift fund we budget for each year. It's small. Everything else gets a loving, simple, "I'm sorry, I can't." No justifying, no negotiating. No is a complete sentence. This isn't about not loving them. It's about a different kind of love. One that believes in their capability more than my wallet. Relationships are mending, slowly. David talks to me again, though it's strained. He calls on Sundays. The conversation is about the weather, the grandkids' soccer games. We don't talk about money. We don't talk about that day. It's like there's a ghost sitting right between us on the phone line. The other kids, they're careful. I can feel them measuring their words when we're together. The easy laughter is gone. The dynamic has fundamentally changed. And I've had to accept that. Some disappointment, some distance is the price of our survival. And you know what? Susan and I leave for the Redwoods next month. In a rental camper, not the custom van I was going to build, but we're going. We booked it last week. She was the one who found the website. She showed me the pictures on her tablet, her finger tracing the route on the map. "Look, James," she said, "we could stop here." Her voice had a lightness I hadn't heard in almost a year. It wasn't the original dream. It's a smaller, quieter version, but it's ours. It's happening. So, if you're in my shoes, listening to this, know that you still have time. It's not too late to reclaim your life, but you have to do the hard thing. You are not your family's emergency fund. Let me say that again. You are not your family's emergency fund. Your worth is not your wallet. Your love is not a line of credit. I spent decades as an engineer solving problems, and I applied that same mindset to my family. A financial crisis appeared, and I saw it as a structural flaw I needed to fix. I was wrong. I wasn't fixing anything. I was just the temporary support beam. And while I was holding up their walls, my own foundation was cracking. The first no will feel like a death. It will. When I said it to David, I felt like I was killing a part of myself, the part that believed being a good father meant being a fixer. The silence afterward was the loudest sound I've ever heard. But the second no, that's different. My middle daughter, Lisa, called a month after the David blow-up. She needed a new roof. It was going to be $20,000. She laid out all the reasons, the leaks, the damage. My stomach clenched. The old script started playing in my head, but I took a breath. I thought of Susan packing for the Redwoods. I said, "Lisa, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. It sounds incredibly stressful, but I can't help with that." She was quiet for a second. Then she said, "Okay, Dad, I figured. I just had to ask." And that was it. No screaming, no guilt, just okay. After I hung up, I didn't feel that crushing guilt. I felt sad for her situation, sure, but I also felt a weird, shaky sense of relief, like I'd passed a test. That was the birth of my own future, finally. It was the moment I understood that no isn't a weapon. It's a boundary. And boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're the frame that holds your own life together. Here's my advice for what it's worth. It's simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. First, talk to your partner. If you don't have a partner, talk to a financial advisor or a trusted friend who will be honest. You need a witness. You need someone on your side of the line. Susan was my witness. Her quiet strength, her own despair, finally made me see the cost. Sit down. Be brutally honest about the numbers. Not the numbers you wish you had, the numbers you actually have. Second, agree on a hard line. For Susan and me, it's that annual family gift fund. We put a set amount in it every January. If an adult child has a genuine need, we can choose to give them a gift from that fund. Not a loan, a gift. Once it's gone for the year, it's gone. No exceptions. It forces us to prioritize, and it forces them to understand it's finite. It's not the endless well they thought it was. Third, practice the sentence. I'm sorry, I can't. That's it. Don't justify. Don't negotiate. Don't list all your reasons. That just opens the door for debate. I'm sorry, I can't. Say it with love. Say it with regret. But say it and then stop talking. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone a forensic audit of your retirement accounts. This is the hardest and most necessary project you'll ever undertake. Harder than any bridge I ever designed. Because it's not about steel and concrete. It's about the heart. It's about untangling your love from your money. It's about believing that your children are capable, resilient adults, even when they're standing in your driveway crying. It's about looking at your spouse after 40 years and choosing your shared sunset over everyone else's emergency sunrise. It's about freedom. The freedom to swim in the bay at dawn because you want to, not because you're trying to swim away from the anxiety. The freedom to cook a complicated meal just for the joy of it, not because you're too stressed about money to go out. The freedom to be in your wood shop building a birdhouse for no reason, instead of staring at a spreadsheet full of regrets. That freedom is possible. I'm 63. I'm James Jenkins. I'm from Meadow Park, and I am not an ATM. That freedom is possible. I'm 63. I'm James Jenkins. I'm from Meadow Park, and I am not an ATM. But getting here, getting to this place where I can say that and almost believe it, it cost me. It cost me more than money. You see, after I said no to David, after the silence and the coldness settled in, that's when the real price tag became clear. It wasn't just about the $85,000 I didn't give him. It was about what I'd already given away. I remember one afternoon, about a month after the blow-up with David, I was supposed to be watching two of my grandkids, Chloe's boys. They were over for a few hours. We were in the backyard. I was trying to show 7-year-old Ethan how to hold a hammer, how to nail 2 pieces of scrap wood together in my workshop. Simple stuff. The kind of thing I dreamed about doing in retirement. But I couldn't focus. My mind was a riot. I was thinking about the interest we weren't earning on the drained savings. I was thinking about whether Mark resented me for helping him but not his brother. I was wondering if Susan, inside making lemonade, was still counting the cost. I was so trapped in my own head, in the accounting of it all, that I didn't see Ethan's thumb. He brought the hammer down wrong. There was a sharp cry. Not a huge injury, a little bruise, a tiny cut, but the look on his face. It wasn't just pain, it was confusion and disappointment. He'd wanted to impress Grandpa, and I hadn't even been watching. I was patching up his thumb with a Band-Aid, my hands shaking, and he looked up at me with those big eyes and said, "You're not fun anymore, Grandpa. You're not fun anymore." Those 5 words hit me harder than David's screaming ever did. They just leveled me. I got them calmed down, got them inside with Susan, and I walked back out to my shop alone. I sat on my stool, surrounded by the beautiful oak and maple I'd bought for the camper van project. Projects now permanently on hold, and I finally let it all in. I wasn't fun anymore. I wasn't the adventurous retiree. I wasn't the patient woodworking teacher. I wasn't even the reliable problem solver. I was a shell, a scared, resentful, hollowed-out shell of a man who was so busy managing the aftermath of his own generosity that he had nothing left to give. Not his time, not his attention, certainly not his joy. I had monetized every relationship in my life until there was no relationship left, just balance sheets and obligations and silent dinners. I thought I was being the family anchor. But an anchor doesn't move. It just sits there, holding everything in place while the world flows past. I'd made myself an anchor, and I was rusting at the bottom, watching the light fade above me. That was my lowest point, lower than David's anger, lower than Susan's ultimatum. This was the quiet, private wreckage. This was the moment I saw the collateral damage. It wasn't just my dream or my marriage on the line. It was myself, my ability to be present in my own life. I'd been so busy being the emergency fund that I'd bankrupted my own spirit. I must have sat out there for an hour. Susan found me. She didn't say anything. She just came in, pulled up another stool, and sat beside me. She put her hand on my back, and I finally broke. I didn't sob, not dramatically. I just cried. Quiet, exhausted tears of pure regret. For the trips not taken. For the grandkids I was too stressed to enjoy. For the wife I'd taken for granted. For the engineer who could build anything except a boundary. "I'm so tired, Susan," I said. My voice sounded foreign to me. "I'm just so tired." "I know," she said, just that. "I know." And in her quiet understanding, in the warmth of her hand on my back, I saw the way out. It wasn't a financial plan, not yet. It was a truth. The Band-Aids hadn't just failed to heal my kids, they'd infected me. My kindness had been a poison. My help had been a chain. I had to stop, not just to save my money, but to save my soul, to save us. That night we didn't talk about numbers. We talked about the redwoods. We talked about the smell of the ocean at Baker Beach where I swim. We talked about the grandkids' birthdays coming up and how we wanted to be there, really be there, not just physically present while mentally calculating the cost of their parents' latest crisis. We talked about the life we'd almost lost before we'd even started living it. The understanding began there, in the dark of my workshop. It was a brutal, simple math. If I kept going, I would lose everything that mattered. Not might, would. The equation was that clear. Continuing to say yes was a guarantee of loss. Saying no was a risk, but it was the only variable I could change, the only chance we had. So I changed it. And here's what I learned, sitting here in my quiet kitchen in Meadow Park. I learned that love and money speak two completely different languages. For years I thought funding a crisis was the same as saying, "I love you." It's not. It's just saying I'll pay. I was speaking in dollars when what my kids needed to hear was faith. Faith in their ability to solve their own problems. By always being the fixer, I was silently telling them, "You can't handle this without me." That's not love. That's a vote of no confidence. I was wrong about what being a good father and grandfather meant. I thought it meant being the safety net. But a net that's always there just teaches you not to look down. My kids never learned how to build their own safety because mine was always stretched out beneath them. Mark's startup, Chloe's car, David's foreclosure, those were their lessons in resilience. And I paid their tuition so they never graduated. The greatest gift I could have given them was letting them struggle, letting them find their own way through. It would have been harder to watch, but it would have been real help. And Susan, God, Susan. I was so busy being the family hero, I forgot I was supposed to be her partner. I took the for better or worse and made it for everyone else's worse at the cost of our better. Her ultimatum wasn't a threat, it was a lifeline. She was the engineer that day, looking at a failing structure, our marriage, and telling me the central support beam was about to go. She saved us. She saved me from myself. So here's my direct advice, for what it's worth, from a 63-year-old retired engineer who finally learned to read a different blueprint. First, you and your partner are a single financial entity, full stop. Susan and I, we had to become a fortress with one gate. No more side conversations. No more, I'll just handle this. Sit down, open every statement. Look at the real numbers, not the hopeful ones. Agree on a single non-negotiable rule. For us, it's that annual gift fund. It's a line item in our budget, like groceries or utilities. Once it's gone, it's gone. It transforms the request from, "Can Dad bail me out?" to, "Do Mom and Dad have capacity in their gift budget this year?" It changes everything. Second, separate the crisis from the person. When Chloe was crying in my driveway, I saw my little girl. I didn't see a competent 35-year-old woman who could call a dealership, research used cars, or arrange a lease. I infantilized her with my checkbook. Now, when a call comes, I make myself ask, is this truly an unforeseeable emergency, or is this a consequence of their choices? A medical crisis is one thing. A vacation or a bad investment is another. You can love the person deeply while not subsidizing the choice. Third, practice your script. It sounds silly, but it works. I'm so sorry you're going through that. It sounds really tough. We aren't in a position to help financially. That's it. Don't jade, justify, argue, defend, explain. Your retirement plan is not up for debate. Your financial security is not a community asset. Say it with kindness, but say it. The first time your heart will pound. The 10th time you'll feel a sad but solid peace. You still have time. I'm 63. I've got maybe a good 20 years left if I'm lucky. I spent the first 6 months of my retirement hemorrhaging money and peace. But I stopped. You can stop today, right now. It's not too late to reclaim what's yours. Your time, your security, your quiet joy, the trips you planned, the hobbies you love, like my swimming and woodworking, done for pleasure, not escape. The grandkids you can actually be present with, not just a distracted wallet in the room. The path forward isn't easy. There's an uneasy peace, but it's a real peace. It's the peace of knowing Susan and I are a team again. It's the peace of watching a sunset in the redwoods without a calculator in my head. It's the peace of hearing Ethan, my grandson, say, "Grandpa, watch this," and my eyes being right there, fully there, to see it. This channel is about these hard conversations we don't have enough, about money, family, and protecting your peace in these later chapters. If this story, my story, resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. Ring the notification bell. I'm not an influencer. I'm just James from Meadow Park. But if there's more I can share that helps someone else avoid my mistakes, I will. Leave a comment down below. Tell me, are you struggling with this? Have you drawn a boundary that worked? Your story might help the person reading it right now. Hit the like button if this felt true for you. It tells the algorithm to show this to someone else who might need to hear, "You are not an ATM." If you have your own story about setting boundaries, about reclaiming your life after 60, there's a link in the description to share it. Maybe your experience can be the lifeline for someone else, the way Susan's quiet strength was for me. A book that helped me frame this differently is Boundaries by Henry Cloud. It's not about retirement, it's about life. The link is below. Don't wait for a crisis. Don't wait for your Susan to be at the door with a suitcase. Don't wait until your grandkids think you're not fun anymore. Talk to your person. Draw the line. Protect your peace. It's the most important project you'll ever build. And you don't need to be an engineer to do it. You just need the courage to say, "I love you. And because I love you, I can't." That's the real foundation. Everything else is just noise.